Yes, peoples. Hello, everyone. Welcome back. Episode 2, Growers Not Showers. What a fucking couple weeks it's been. Yeah, very eventful. Let me kick things off. Jack has absolutely done a fantastic job of the marketing, the graphics, and the reels. Oh, mate, they're fucking sick. You know, my barber follows me on Instagram. I went to get a trim yesterday, as you can see, looking fucking sharp. But he said, he was like, every time like you go on the pod and you do any sort of videos, like if people ask why you're trim, like refer them to me, because he said he's gonna give me better haircuts now because he knows I'm active on Instagram. So shout out to my barber AB, he's a fucking boy. Anyways, yeah. So what's been going on in the past couple of weeks, Jack?
We trained together. It was very cute.
Yeah, we did actually. That was really cute.
Yeah, it was very cute. We did a bunch of filming. Camille's officially launched, as is this pod. Wow. Yeah, and other than that, just swimming in clients because we're both just so successful.
Yeah, to be fair, the reception has been absolutely phenomenal. Like, honestly, some of the feedback I've been getting and all the clients that I've been on board as well has been so cool to see. And like, obviously having access to Jack Sheets now, which is an absolute fucking lifesaver. Holy shit. Like, before I do a check-in and it would literally take me like 40 minutes because I do everything manually. Now I just like type some little things and it just comes up everywhere. I'm like, oh my God, I didn't even put it in there, but it's already set. It's preset. Yeah, fucking jobs are good, mate. But yeah, so coming out of a cutting phase for me, I finally feel like a human being. Oh, I can't even begin to explain to you how good it felt to go to the gym and progress every lift. So for those of you who don't know, I've gone through some like emo power building phase. Basically, just want to lift some really fucking heavy weight. So started squat, bench, deadlift, and it is so fucking fun. Oh my days! You know the sound of the barbell just clinging, it like the plates clinging. It is so satisfying. Top 5 like sexual sounds, honestly. But yeah, been running that for a couple weeks. I originally tried to do 4 days a week because I'm going into a period now where I'm in my last semester of uni, so I've got a lot of work, dissertation, exams, etc., etc., etc. So my ideology was, if I train 4 days, I'll have more free time. After a week, I dropped Jack a message, and I was like, "Listen, mate, I think I'm actually less productive when I'm working, or I'm going gym 4 days a week, because I don't like, if I go to the gym, I go at the end of the day after I've got all my shit done. If I have a rest day, I'm far less productive. I don't know why. It's just I use gym as a sense of motivation as almost like a tree at the end of the day after I've got all of my work done. And also, I'm a coach, so like I can't be going 4 days a week, man. So we've changed it back to 5 days. So been running that up. That's been fucking amazing. Doing a lot more like strength-based. Well, not strength-based, but like not the traditional hypertrophy per se exercises like pull-ups, dips, rows, like barbell rows, chin-ups, like these exercises which I never used to do, but I'm really fucking enjoying them. And it's like, it's such an interesting point to cover because we can always like push like hypertrophy training, you know, being the most optimal, but it's a fucking spectrum. You got being optimal and being meathead. It's never too good to be exactly on one side. It's good to be somewhere in the middle. And I'm sure Jack can relate to this, but when I started going to the gym, I was very far meathead. And I feel like the meathead side of things, it really teaches the intensity. And like, I'm enjoying just like going into my sets being like, yeah, okay, form is important to an extent, but also I just want to fucking move some weight and get angry. Like,
yeah, man. Mate, that's the thing. I think, you know, you don't want to be too far one side. I think as soon as you move too far one side, it just shows that like you don't really know what you're doing. You're just kind of parroting. Do you know what I mean? Like, if you're one of those people that's like, the only way to grow your back is with a barbell, cables are overcomplicating it, you're never going to get big. It's like, bro, just say you don't know how lifting works. But equally, people be like, oh, you know, you never do less than 5 reps. Why are you using a barbell? Get on a machine that's far better. You're never going to grow. It's like, bro, again, just say that you don't know how this works. Like, it's very much a case of like, people just stick to one thing and repeat it. And I've had conversations with people on both sides where I'll see someone doing like a length and partial cuff pullover, and I talk to them and about why you're doing it, and then you get to the bottom of they don't really know, they just heard that it was sciencey. And you're like, okay. And you talk to someone doing like Dorian Deads for their back, and you're like, well, it's not really great for your back, mate. Like, it's not going to grow it that much. And they're like, yeah, but Dorian did it. And you're like, okay, well, you're both as bad as each other. One of you is following Jeff Nippard and the other one's following Dorian Yates. You both don't know what's going on. You're just following someone else. Like, it's just bizarre. I think having that background of being a meathead though is good, because like, then I used to post about it all the time, but I'd be like, I love a cuff tricep push down, but just because I'm using a cuff doesn't mean I'm not going to absolutely fucking blitz myself. Doesn't mean I'm not trying to move the whole stack like with each arm. Like, you know, like people kind of shut off performance goals and like intensity a lot of time when they're you know, doing something that isn't like a barbell or a dumbbell. It's just fucking weird. But
yeah, I think for me, when I like in this cutting phase, because obviously I was still training like a mad cunt, but I really took form, execution, tempo to its absolute limit, because I knew weight was going to be a difficult fit metric to even progress, but also maintain. So my form during the cut that I did was absolutely phenomenal. It was some of the best form I ever did. But now I'm like bulking again. I'm like, okay, now we're pushing weight. When you start to push weight and it starts to get a lot heavier, form will tend to slip. You're not going to have that fucking perfect execution if you're increasing weight by 2.5 kilos every week. It's just not going to happen. Your form needs to be good enough to still get stimulus, but also to be safe. That's the most important part, is to remain safe and to be injury free. If you are struggling with injuries, obviously I'm right here. I'm an osteopath, so a little bit of marketing there. But yeah, like getting injured is like one of the most difficult things in terms of bodybuilding, because just from obviously the physical, being unable to train that specific joint, but also potentially the surrounding joints, and also the mental. Like, I've had one of my mates, Will, who's had an ongoing injury, a grade 1 ACL sprain, or PCL, I think, ongoing for 3 years now. And just what I've seen that or the injury do to him basically is fucking, it's nuts. Like, mentally unable to train legs, even using leg drive on certain exercises can flare up. And it's like, I'm not even training that specific joint, but just the fact that I'm using it irritates it. So please make sure you don't get injured. Keep that at your forefront. Don't have the ideology of, it hasn't happened to me, so it won't. That's exactly what makes it happen to you. It's like, even with me, I'm not injury prone at all, touch wood, but I will still take the right precautions. I will warm up effectively, and most importantly, listen to your body. Your body will have the ability to tell you if something's wrong or not. If you get a niggle, that's your body telling you, okay, something's not going right here. Listen to your body. Don't push through it and be like, oh, I need to get this PB, or because ultimately, if you try and get that PB, get injured, you're not going to get that PB for the next however amount of time longer, because you didn't listen to your body.
Yeah, 100%. I think a lot of people aren't comfortable delaying that gratification there of like, or they feel like they're letting themselves down. It's like, well, you can still take a PB in other ways. Like, you can still, like, if I do a set, if I got like, I don't know, 2-3 sets on a leg press or whatever, I do one and my knees are like screaming, I'll be like, okay, I'm just leaving it at 1 today. I'll still progress 1, we'll leave it there. Like, or I might take a rep PB, or I might I know, just generally try and like absolutely just mash my quads on something that doesn't hurt. There's no need to be so like rigidly anal with, I did it last week, so I have to do it this week. Like, but if you can do it, but if you're hitting pain, like, yeah, 100%, do not just fucking body yourself. And again, to come back to around to like what you said, it's like form. There's either people who like are so rigid with form to the point where you're like, this really doesn't matter, because you are losing so much loading potential, because you're like fighting your own anatomy to get into these positions, and you're clearly going into ranges of motion that like your body is not happy with, and because of that you're sacrificing so much load. And then you got people who just ragging weight around, and you're like, bro, these reps are minimal, there is fucking no stimulus out of this. Like, like you see people like I've seen people get like so, I guess we'll go for the cuff pullover again. I've seen people get so lengthened on them, like get their shoulders so far into flexion that like they're like not even able to use like one slab on the stack. And you're like, okay, well, if you topped out at where your shoulder flexion naturally tops out, how much are you gonna use? Half the stack. Yeah. Well, what the fuck are you doing then? Like, that's the thing. You have to be. There's such a balance. Like when, like, I'm kind of on a similar wavelength to Camille at the minute. Like post diet, I'm like, okay, let's just fucking get strong. Like my form's always going to have a certain baseline, and so is Camille's. It's not going to be stupid, like ridiculous, like robotic, but it's also not going to be ragging shit around because there's just not a need to do that. Like we're still going to grow off of the sets, but we're allowing ourselves enough flexibility so that we can still progress, but enough rigidity that we're still getting stimulus. Again, this is what it comes down to, is like when I see people just dragging weight around and like have no ROM, I'm like, come on, bro. What are you here for? Like, what are you actually trying to achieve? But then when you see people whose like form is so robotic and textbook and they're using like 1 kilo, I'm like, okay, you've picked one thing and you've made it your entire personality. Like there is more to lifting than just this. And they'll be like, oh, how dare you have any level of form down? And it's like, well, you're only saying that because you lift 2 kilos. Like to an extent, as soon as you start to get like decently strong, there's going to be some form breakdown. Like it's allowing form to be an 8 or a 9 out of 10 instead of a 10, but that's still significantly better than like a 4. Do you know what I mean?
You get the keyboard warriors typing, well, mechanical tension is better than metabolic stress. Fuck off. Like
people talk about mechanical tension, but then they're like, oh, I've been unable to fucking progress this exercise for like 4 weeks because as soon as I add 1.25 kilos, it's my form breaks down. And it's like at that point you're losing mechanical like yes, you're maximizing tension from a minimal weight, that's great, but you're doing it to a point where you can't progress it, so all you're doing is overload. There's no progression. Like all the progression is so stalled and stagnant and slow that like, okay, if you just stayed within a more sensible ROM, yeah, if you just cut some of that passive lengthening out there, if you just went like more into, you know, naturally where your shoulder flexion seems to top out, maybe a little bit above that, you could probably use significantly more load, progress it significantly better, not run into potential joint concerns, and your form drop off is going to be pretty fucking minimal as well. Like that's the thing. The sexy answer for training is it's all a balance. Like intensity needs to be good enough. ROM needs to be good enough.
Knowledge.
You can't just take one thing and like people pick one thing. Oh, is it form, ROM, intensity, control, volume? Which one is it? It's like, no, bro, it's doing them all adequately. You know,
it's all balance. It always comes down to balance. Training, nutrition, general life. It's just good advice just to keep a good balance. Same thing with nutrition. It's like the people that have the best results with diet, it's not the ones that stick to their diet 100%. It's the people that have a little bit of leeway, still have those untracked meals, happily take those untracked meals, but don't take the piss. If you like, I know for me, for example, when I was dieting, if I tried to not take an untracked meal, I'd be like fucking dying inside. I'd be itching on my eyeballs, be like, fucking give me some calories in me. Like, it's horrible. But it's like also making the right decision. So like you gave a really good example when I was cutting, where I was like, okay, we're gonna have a Domino's. Okay, but we're not going to have a large one. We're going to have a medium. And instead of having the garlic sauce, I'm going to have my homemade, you know, light mayo. And that's just saved me like 1,000 calories. But it satisfied that itch of my eyeballs of being like, get some fucking carbs in me now. Balance. It always comes down to balance. People that get the best results are the people that are bodybuilders 90% or 8% of the time. And the other 10, 20%, they're fucking normal human beings and they chill. And they have that, you know, like, they're able to detach from the bodybuilding. But yeah, even with the training as well, like again, keeping a balance, like the way my training is structured right now. So I'll have my like heavy meathead compound movements, but I'll still train hypertrophy. I'll then go and, you know, do calf lateral raises or some sort of bicep curl variation, behind the back curls, and I'll still train. So I'm still doing, I guess, like a power building sort of approach. But like, the way I first got into training, you know, I've talked about this in the previous episode where, you know, I was training with a barbell and some weights, nothing else. My push day consisted of bench press with legs up, close grip bench press, shoulder press, and then lateral
Oh,
raises with Russian twists with a fucking plate. We had no dumbbells. We just had a barbell and some plates. And those are some of the best workouts I ever had. And it's simply because I just trained with that aggression, that intensity, that inherently I believe is like the most important thing when it comes to training. It's your ability to take yourself to that place before you do those sets and cut out, you know, the feeling of pain. Josh Fit did a really good reel discussing like, because he sees a lot of people that can't take, like, for example, leg extensions to that place. And it's like specifically with leg training, like you really, really have to take it there. Leg training is painful. It is fucking painful. And to take a set to true failure is the most difficult out of all the muscle groups. It is the most difficult thing to do. So it's like you'll see me going into my sets. Either I'm like really angry or I'm dead silent. If I'm like dead silent and just looking at the floor, that's how you know I'm in the zone. And I posted a video of me like doing leg extensions the other day, actually. I think it was leg curls. And I had zero expression on my face.
Yeah, you didn't blink.
I didn't blink. I was like getting towards the end of my set. I was visibly struggling. I'm just there like like that's the level of how do I describe it? You just need to be locked in.
Focus.
You literally, the focus. That's it. The level of focus in just to be present in the set, and the only thing you're thinking about is training that muscle.
Yeah, like I remember in lockdown, that was probably the first time that I like my training became bodybuilding, and I remember training push pull rest legs rest, just like over and over and over, same push, same pull, same legs, and it was like in my fucking garden, so it was, you know, like pretty kind of crap equipment, like barbell plates, stuff like that. And I remember literally the night before leg day, like genuinely sleepless, like actually like a sleepless night from anxiety. Just like I remember I would like, so like I'm currently in the bedroom that would overlook it, and like I remember I would like get up in the morning, look out at my garden, see this green fucking little like kind of gazebo-y tent with plates and shit in it, look at that and be like, I've got to fucking train legs there today. And like the night beforehand I'd be going to bed and like my bed overlooks it, and I'd like pull down the blinds so I can still see it in my head. Like the first time I really trained legs, like squats lived rent free in my fucking head. It literally like you could like tell I was like visibly stressed the day beforehand, and then the day after I was in a sick mood. I was like, we did it. Once the legs was done, I was like, thank fucking God. But yeah, I remember like that taught me a lot about like effort and like what really training hard was, especially because like I was constantly training with mates. So we'd do like barbell back squats, and then we'd load up a bar with as much weight as we could kind of get onto our backs, which was probably only like 60 kilos, because you got to like fucking snatch that shit up to like get it on your back. And then we'd take it to this road and we'd literally just lunge on the road until we collapsed. And like if there was a car behind you and you were near failure, you'd have to lunge out the way, and like you'd have to get yourself onto the pavement, or like if you saw a car coming, you'd have to pause, whether that meant like at the top or the bottom or whatever. So like you'd get forced into like horrible stuff, and you do that after barbell back squats and RDLs and stuff. And like literally, like once you've hit failure and then there's like a 4x4 driving behind you and you're like, well, either I move or I die. That's when I learned like that's why I learned really training hard, because you know when people say, oh, if I had a gun to your head, like that's how it felt, like I had actual gun to my head. But
if a client, go on.
I was going to say that was the first time like when I really unlocked training legs, I got like insane anxiety basically.
Achievement unlocked.
Yeah, exactly.
If a client comes to me and they say they're struggling with intensity or they're struggling to grow, the first thing I'll say is send me some of your leg training, send me your leg press, send me your squat pattern, send me your hamstring curls. Because if you can apply the correct intensity to leg training, it's going to apply everywhere else. That's sort of, in my eyes, where intensity stems from. And I remember what I was going to ask you is, have you ever chun from training legs?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, that the first time I chun from training legs, that was like, I sat down and I was like, well, I'm gonna finish my workout. Like
Yeah.
I'm gonna go back and do another set of leg press anyway. Fuck it. But like I really sat there, I was like, boy really isn't fucking healthy. Like I did not start this to be healthy. It's like people, and I did this in a commercial gym, and like I wasn't gonna make it to the toilet. I had to do it in the bins, like in the gym. I wasn't gonna make it to the toilet. So I'm there, like fucking hands over the fucking thing, like just chunning, and I look up. Literally, everyone is fucking looking at me. Everyone, and I was just thinking, like, I'm sorry, like, it's like, what do you want me to do? They could be thinking one or two things, like, yeah, fair play, train legs hard, or like, you know, the regular middle-aged woman's probably thinking, what the fuck is this guy doing? Like,
yeah, probably that's me.
Oh mate, yeah, training legs is just, it's such a fucking roller coaster of emotions. And it's like I've had clients where I've trained them in person, and you know, they were sending me form footage before, and I was like, you know, your intensity is good, it could be a little bit better. They're like, they want to train with me, so I'm like, okay, what are we training? Legs. And I'll take them for a leg session, and like they'll leave limping, and they'll be like, Camille, like, thank you, like this has opened up my eyes of what, you know, training with true intensity is. And like sometimes it just does take someone to show you, because another thing, like, if you don't record your sets, you don't fucking know, do you? Like how you feel during the set isn't a true indicator, because I'm sure you can agree with me on this. Like I've seen videos of myself, I'm like, fuck me, I buried that. I was such a good set. I watch it back, I'm like, oh, I could have had one more.
Yeah,
like,
mate, literally.
Like, I was one in the tank.
But it depends on your perception as well, though, because like I train legs with like a rep or two. Well, I train quads like a rep or two in reserve because of my knees currently. And then like I'll post it, and someone will be like, "Wow, that's a really hard set." I'll be like, "Bro, that's about 2 RIR. Like that's not. It's not a hard set. Like there was a good like maybe 1 or 2 there, you know." And like I think it comes down to like the standard that you hold yourself to. If you look back at your set and you're like, yeah, there's more there, like that's good. That's a good way to approach things. Whereas like it's very rare that I look at a set and I go, yeah, that was completely done. You know, maybe like more upper body stuff, but for lower body stuff, it's always like you look at it back and you're like, oh god, there was so much more there. But that drive to push yourself harder, like improve your intensity and not just progress. Like, yeah, you could progress a rep, but improving your intensity is adding like 2 or 3 reps or adding a rep and better tempo or whatever. Like if you hold yourself to that standard, you're going to have very, very big quads, very, very big legs, because that constant strive for more is what creates insane physiques.
What do you think is the hardest lift?
Oh, it's easily some kind of hinge or squat. A leg press is nowhere near as hard as a squat pattern.
Do you think?
Yeah, 100%. I'm a lot more practiced at leg pressing, to be fair, but like squat patterns are way more cardiovascularly taxing. Like I find, like I can take a leg press pretty far, especially like high reps, but a high rep squat is horrible. Like I could bash out a set of 25 or 30 on leg press. I'd hate it, but it's okay. But that on a hack is like, oh, that's not happening, man. That's horrible.
Yeah, I
think it's got to be something.
Leg pressing high reps is up there. That like doing like a 20 rep set of leg press, because it's not cardiovascular taxing, but like the lactic buildup you get in your legs is, to me, more so than if I was to do like a normal set of hack. But from a cardiovascular perspective, I agree. Something like a hack or you know, a squat pattern, especially not so much squats, like barbell squats. I find squat patterns with external stability where you can really milk the eccentric and pause at the bottom and stuff like that. That's like cardiovascular wise, like you'll get up and you'll be like,
yeah, literally, yeah. I feel like it's got to be some kind of free weighted squat or hinge. I definitely suck at hinging more, so I'm gonna go for an SLDL. For me personally, the hardest I do routinely would be an SLDL. Deadlifts second. Like pulling from the floor, I fucking suck at. Like it's brutal. I don't know. I think it's just practice. I can back an RDL, but like yeah, SLDL or deadlift, getting it off the floor.
Mm.
Jesus Christ, man. Especially like when you're already fucked and you're like, when I'm fried on a hinge, my legs just start shaking. Like no matter where
Yeah,
no matter where I got my foot, I'm like hitting some kind of nerve that's not happy with me. Like even
yeah,
look, like you hit a little like pressure point or something, my whole like posterior just starts shaking. And then you're trying to, or when you're trying to lock it out and you're just like vibrating.
yeah, yeah. It's when it's that last like 5 degrees where
Yeah.
it's not even like the muscle that's getting up. I'm just there like getting up.
Like you're trying to contract as best as
Yeah,
possible, but like your brain and your hamstring are just not one and the same. Like they're not having it. I'm gonna go SLDL. I think that's the hardest lift I've done.
yeah. I
What about
mean,
you?
now that I've started pulling from the floor again, I just find it so enjoyable. I don't know what it is,
Yeah.
but just pulling from the floor, it just stimulates some sort of like androgenic response in my brain. Like I just get fucking switched on. I get angry, but it definitely is. I don't get as out of breath from deadlifts as I do from squats, but I think deadlifts are, or from a muscular perspective, harder.
Mhm.
Potentially also because it's higher load exposure. Like I tend to pull more from the floor than what I squat.
Mhm.
Um, but like even like holding the weight in a fully locked up position up here for too long, even that's fucking fatiguing. If you've got like even like fucking 180 kilos in your hands, like I remember because I just did I'm really like in the middle of whether I use straps or not because I don't know if I want to go down the full powerlifting route or if I want to just move a shit ton of weight. But I did a set of like 180, and like by the second rep, my grip was like this. Like I
Yeah.
was holding on for dear life. Like, and I was like even the weight felt light as fuck, but I just couldn't hold on to it. And I remember just like looking at my forearms. I'm like, I've got a ridiculous forearm pump, but like my hamstrings, I feel a little bit, and feel a little bit in my lower back, but it's just forearms. Um, I think it's a lot more muscles that are involved in a deadlift
Mhm.
compared to a squat as well. I mean, deadlift is pretty much your entire posterior chain,
Yeah.
your hamstrings, glutes, lower back, your lats as well, and your traps actually. Um, but yeah, what would you say is the easiest lift to progress then?
Easiest lift to progress for me, any cable tricep push down. So
Mm,
easy. Like I can just walk into it and progress it.
hmm
I've never ever had an issue with it. In terms of like more globally, like what most people could progress, I feel like rows are pretty easy. Maybe even single arm when you've got like it's not going to be anything lower body. I reckon upper body, probably usually a bigger muscle because they're a bit easier to progress.
hmm
Yeah, maybe something like that. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I think rows, like lat rows specifically, are
Yeah.
quite easy to progress. Lat pull downs, a little bit more difficult, but still relatively easy. I
Yeah.
think pressing, again, it really depends on the individual, but generally speaking, I think pressing is actually quite hard to progress, like
Yeah.
out of the upper body stuff, especially shoulder pressing as well.
Yeah.
Um, I'm trying to think. Biceps, I would say biceps is relatively easy to progress.
Fair.
The smaller muscle groups, they tend to be able to handle a lot more volume.
Mhm.
So it might be easy to progress one set, but progressing every single set, that becomes more of a challenge. Whereas if you did, 2 sets of a lat pull down, it's going to be easy to progress those 2 sets because you're
Yeah.
only doing 2. Rear delts is quite a rogue one. For me personally, I find rear delts quite easy to progress.
Yeah, same to
With
be
with Yeah, with muscles like that, like rear delts and biceps specifically, because the load exposure doesn't need to be as high. You can take progressions with reps, with form and stuff like that, and you're going to get a significant change out of it.
yeah.
Whereas if you progress like 2.5 kilos in that pull down, might see a little bit less of a change.
Mm.
Yeah, that's probably what I'll go for. I agree. I think you say the lower body glutes, like for me, and I think for a lot of blokes, actually glutes is quite easy to progress. Like doing a hip thrust, like when I was running, I did a block of hip thrust and I was literally going up like 10, 15 kilos a week. I found that super easy to progress. Hamstrings and quads, definitely very fucking difficult to progress. Calves, again, so like it really depends on the person. Calves is like highly genetic. Some people just got fucking dad calves at 21, like you just can't fucking help it. In fact, you've got really wham calves. I remember seeing them the other day. I was like, fucking hell, they're like my biceps.
I can progress calves quite easily. Like it's pretty routinely and reliably they progress.
You're gonna be a good dad.
Well, I remember as a joke in lockdown, I held on to 3 plates and I did a calf raise with it. I did a few calf raises with it for no fucking reason. I was proud of myself. Yeah, like well, I think my deadlift and my calf raise were the same at that point. Like
what?
I know, yeah, ridiculous.
You're a fucking animal.
But to be fair, like yeah, I feel like glutes is pretty easy to progress. I know calves is decent. I can progress that quite well. Adductors, I find like if you're picking like a more isolation style exercise, I feel like I could progress a ham curl or an extension more than an adductor, a seated hip adductor.
Agreed.
Unless I'm doing like a hip focus press, yeah, that's easier. But like a machine adductor, fucking so hard.
Brutal, fucking brutal. Adductors is such like a rogue one because it's so, at least in my eyes, it's so important for overall leg development.
Yeah,
like, yeah, you can train it, you know, through deep leg presses and stuff like that, deep squats. But like doing additional isolation work just gives you that width from the front to your leg that you wouldn't have before. Because obviously your quads will go forward and your hamstrings go back. If you don't train adductors, you won't get width in your leg from the front.
yeah.
But like, yeah, like leg adduction machine is so brutal to progress. And like some of the worst DOMs I've ever had were from adductors.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
you literally walk like a duck, like because you can't bring your legs outwards too far. So I'm walking, and so now I'm literally walking like a duck. It's absolutely horrible. And I tend to always do like rest pause and shit as well, which just amplifies the DOM significantly. Doing a rest pause and adductors is fucking horrible.
Yeah, they're a weird one. I think because they're used in like because they're responsible for hip extension, so they're used in like so much crap like our pressing or squatting or hinging, that when you top them up with extra volume, it's just brutal on them. But yeah, 100%. Like if you want that, like you can tell people with big quads and no adductors because their legs go out, their legs go forwards.
Yeah.
But their legs like in like when they like stand with their legs apart, their fucking thigh gap is huge. Like their quads go all the way out, but they're just like their legs don't even touch each other on the inside. So it is really key, but it depends on the person. Like some people don't. I've got some people where their adductors respond great to like hip focus pressing, so don't need to worry about it too much. But for some people, it is a necessary evil, we'll say. It's kind of like it's like abs, isn't it? Like they're involved in a lot of like abs and rear delts and front delts. They're involved in a lot of crap, but if you want more of it, train it.
Yeah. I think someone should have given me a contract to sign for getting like big adductors means you chafe. Like,
yeah.
the whole like chafing thing, fucking, I don't rate it. It's so long to deal with. Like, not so much now because I feel like, I want to say I lost size, but like, I don't experience chafing as much because I'm such a low body fat percentage. But like, when I was deep into the bulk and like I hadn't had my legs shaved, so I got a bunch of hair there. Fucking hell, it was hell. Like the chafe is just, I gotta invest in some baby powder, man.
Mate, literally, baby powder is needed. Like, I don't have any hair on the inside of my legs because it's just been
all rubs off.
It's just gone. Yeah, I remember I had like a good few. If I don't stay on top of the baby powder in like a day or two, my legs will get like red raw. Like I've literally like I've had them. Mate, I've had them like borderline bleed from it.
Mate, it's nuts. I remember you showing me when we trained and your thighs were touching like 2 thirds down your leg. I was like, what the fuck? How is that even possible?
If I want them to not touch, I have to like properly like fucking almost do the splits.
Bro belly has a knee gap, let alone a thigh gap. Like...
Yeah, mate, it's all that hip focus pressing, like trying to keep my knees nice and happy and still press. My adductors and glutes just growing like mad.
Yeah, seeing the BFR training was like really interesting. Like, because you're getting such a good stimulus from it still.
Yep.
Albeit it would be better if you could train legs normally, but the fact that you found a way to still work around it, again, it just comes down to like knowing your body, smart programming. It's like Jack could train legs normally, yeah. Okay, but then he gets injured and then can't train legs for 6 months.
Yep.
Or he could do the BFR and train legs for the 6 months that he wouldn't have been able to while he was injured, make less progress, albeit still make a significant amount of progress, and come out with more fucking gains. Like, just understanding your own body, you know, certain things are completely out of our control. That's fine. This is something I discussed in the last episode as well. It's like with my scoliosis, like certain things are just simply out of your control. There's literally nothing you can do about it. And if there truly is nothing you can do about it, don't put any emotion behind it. Just work your way around it, because you can still fucking reach your goals. You know, it's so good that you found like another way to train. And it's like, it's so nice to see, you know, like, you're like an inspiration to the young G's, like.
Yeah, I mean, maybe my goal is eventually to get to a point where I don't have to use blood flow restriction to train quads. But you know, we'll see. I think it's gonna have to get to a point where my BFR strength gets up to the point of like near what my un-BFR strength is, or like it gets to the point where like I'm able, because my progression with BFR is getting quite silly now. I'm lifting heavier than I was without it. So
yeah, I mean, you're matching me on everything pretty much, if not more than what I'm doing with the BFR. So like your leg strength without BFR would be fucking like, it would be quite strong. Like
yeah.
Force is strong with this one.
I'd love to like run low reps on shit and just like load crap up, but yeah, but once it gets to the point where like load is pretty significant with BFR, that's when I can probably start to take it out. But I kind of like, it's just good because with BFR on, I can pretty safely like send sets. I don't have to worry about it too much. You know, like if I feel good and I feel like I can get the weight moving, then I'll go for it. Like if I wanted to slap on a plate or something, if I can do it, it will be fine. And if I can't do it, then I can't do it. You know, it's just a nice like safety for me to be silly with the BFR. Particularly because like as you go through the session, your legs get more and more and more fucked. So you get like an additional effect where you do the first set and then after that it's like just the connection with your quads is insane and like everything feels quad and doesn't feel knee at all. But yeah. I'm fortunate enough that I can do everything without it. It's just quads.
Yeah. I was thinking whether to experiment with some sort of different style of training. But again, it's like I don't know very much what I do. Like I do quite a few intensifiers. For those of you that don't know, Intensifier is a fantastic programming tool. Like it's really good to save time, but also like for new to intermediate lifters who struggle with training intensity, you know, taking it there. Intensifiers, or majority of intensifiers, are AMRAPs, taking it to failure multiple times in a row. So you're basically ensuring that they're hitting failure. So it's a really good way to teach intensity. So I have a lot of my newer clients, and also it's really good for the pump as well. So if someone struggles with connecting to a specific muscle, I don't know, like their chest, prior to doing some sort of chest variation, like a chest press, get them to do a rest pause set on a pec deck. I promise you, when they fucking sit down to do that chest press, they're gonna feel their chest. So you just get so much, not just the blood flow, but also the neurological connection, because that's what strength is. It's the neurological connection to your muscles. It's your ability to activate that muscle. So if you're specifically training or isolating one muscle and connecting with it neurologically over and over again, then when you go to do a more compound movement where you're using multiple joints, multiple muscles, you've already warmed up that specific muscle that you want to target. So you're going to connect with it better. It's just pure physiology. On biomechanics, I should say. But yeah, interesting stuff.
What kind of like you said you wanted to maybe play around with different training methods? What are you thinking?
I don't know. I could try the BFR. Like I know I wouldn't do it for lower. I think I'd do BFR for something like biceps. So I just feel like I just get a ridiculous pump. I've seen like certain bodybuilders do BFR for arms, and you always just see them doing like a ridiculous fucking pump. So I'd be just interested to see, like, because I'm at that point now where, you know, I'm curious. I like experimenting. Like I said, now I'm doing more of like a power building focus. Before I was purely hypertrophy. You know, I like experimenting and trying new things. I'm always open. So yeah, I'd be more than happy to try it, you know, see what it's saying.
It's not a bad idea. I think it's good. Like, it's not something that I don't think BFR adds any growth, you know, like in and of itself. But I think it's a cool technique in that, like, if you really enjoy that sensation, that's great. I mean, it could maybe help with like form a little bit, like, because you can feel your biceps working. And if you can feel a muscle working, typically people kind of, if they can lean into it, like if your biceps are hurting and you lean into hurting it, then you're probably moving your elbow and your shoulder in a way that's pretty bicep dominant, rather than, you know, when people curl and they start to like bring that shoulder up, they start to flex at the shoulder to move the weight. Whereas if you're focused on like getting and maintaining a pump while progressing, you're probably a bit more focused on elbow movement and then growing your biceps. But yeah, man, it's not a bad idea. Like, it's always something you can play around with. And if there's like a muscle you really like to feel a pump in, then go for it. But if I think it's amazing for injury prevention as well, because it, like, the amount it limits your strength by is insane. Like, it really weakens you, and that gives you like, and the I remember the first time I leg pressed with BFR, it was like one plate was failure, like one plate per side. And I was like, holy shit, this is incredible, because you load up barely anything and you just smash it out and you're like, holy shit, my fucking whatever muscle was absolutely trash. So it's always good from like an injury prevention standpoint, if you're worried about like bicep or forearm issues or anything like that.
It's similar to osteopathy in a sense. It's like we have multiple techniques, but ultimately it's the same outcome. So I'll give you an example. We've got like harmonic techniques, which is a very general mobilization. We've got general mobilization techniques, and then we've got grade 5 mobilization or manipulation, which is a adjustment. I don't like calling it that because it's not that, but an adjustment. Ultimately, they're all going to have the same outcome. It's all to increase range of motion, decrease pain, etc., etc. But there's different ways of doing it. And like the way I like to think about it, osteopathy is an art. It's like, I like changing up my techniques in order to get a different outcome, because it's a form of art. It's a form of expression. You know, one patient might prefer this technique, another one might prefer this. But it's about, you know, experimenting, doing different things, you know, applying different like ideologies, stuff like that. Ultimately, you're still going to get the exact same goal. But if I treat every single patient the same, I'd want to fucking kill myself after doing like 20 patients a day. You just get fucking fed up of it, you know? So it's about switching it up, keeping it fresh, and keeping it fun, to be honest.
Yeah. Like, yeah, when you've got a myriad of different techniques that are all going to work, you just pick the one that, well, if there's any that stand out, go for them. But if it's just enjoyment, then, you know, just pick what you enjoy, ultimately. And sometimes it comes down to a balance. Like, it'd be like the idea of a pull day where you try and slam as much weight on the bar, row it, pull down it, whatever, and then slap on a tight BFR and just like train biceps until they burst. Like, does sound pretty fun, you know? And like, it's
pretty fun. Like,
yeah, like it's like different methods of you know, focusing on progression. Like, for me at the minute, I'm really enjoying like pushing strength and performance quite high. So I'm trying to pick like as many lifts, even for like arms, doing things like easy bar curls, dumbbell curls, things that I'm like kind of inclined to. Even though I'm gonna keep my form good, absolutely, like controlled, and still keep tension on what I'm trying to train, because I'm not trying to get injured or not grow. But I'm still trying to see like, okay, how high can I run those numbers up, because they are quite exciting lifts to try and like run numbers up on, you know? So like, you got to play to your strengths. Like, if you know that getting a pump feels fucking great for you, and you really enjoy that feeling of like, okay, I've worked this out, do that. If you enjoy the feeling of like, that was a heavy hard set, like, that was fucking good, whatever. But also know the weaknesses of that approach. Like, if you're chasing a pump, are you also chasing progression? If you're chasing progression, are you also chasing actual growth from that set? Do you know what I mean? But yeah, there's a good, like, there's a good balance there. I'd say for me, like with quads, I try and chase a lot of sensation in the first 2 sets so that I can chase performance numbers on the later ones. Do you know what I mean? Like,
it just like, I think with you as well, it's such an important psychological element. It's like, if you can't feel your quads, you're gonna feel more, how do I put this? Like, you'll be on edge going into. So, say for example, you didn't do a lighter set where you really connected with your quads and you felt you just went straight into a fucking leg press. You're gonna be worried psychologically, even if like biomechanically there's nothing bad going on. You can theoretically take that set where it needs to be taken. If there's a psychological barrier of, oh fuck, like if I take it a little bit too deep, or if my leg is a little bit externally rotated more than it should be, I could really fuck myself up. That's going to prevent you from doing it. And if your like first 2 sets allow you to get rid of that mental block, that is invaluable, because then you're able to go into that set without the mental block. You're able to take it where it needs to be taken, and therefore get the growth that you need to be getting out of it. And this is like, goes back to the whole like psychology thing. It's so underlooked. Like, going back to getting into the right mindset before a set. It's like, even though you can take it there, biomechanically you can take it there, can you take it there mentally? Those 2 things go hand in hand. As you know, would say, like, strong body, strong mind, strong body. It is really, really true. If you can take it there in a for a difficult set of like a hack squat, you can handle a lot of things in life. That might be a bold statement, but like, if everything is going shit in my life, do you know what I'll do? I'll go train legs. Like, I will go train legs, because I will leave that gym knowing that I put in 100%. I got what I needed to, and it makes me feel better. Because if I can take it there on a squat, I can challenge life. I can attack it all full front. It's like the psychological effect of training hard is like, goes back to the point of like why like bodybuilders make such good entrepreneurs and businessmen. It's because it's fucking difficult. It teaches you delayed gratification, the ability to not see any progress but still keep going, knowing that is ultimately going to have an outcome. The determination, the structure in your life as well is another one. It all fucking ties in together. And it's like, even you always see like people who didn't start in fitness, you'll see like business gurus who eventually end up having some sort of fitness life, and they always preach like, they might not be the biggest guys or fucking train bodybuilding, even they might just go to the gym for fun, but they always say like fitness is the cornerstone of everything.
It's been facts. It's been absolute facts. Yeah, I think
got a little mic, by the
way. Bro's professional out here. So main takeaway of today is, if you train hard,
don't train like a bitch.
Yeah, pretty much. And it will make you a better person for it. Like, genuinely, I think both me and Camille have like done a lot of shit that's like improved our lives a lot, and been able to start businesses and ventures and do shit. And like, a lot of the work ethic that you carry around with you day to day is based on like, well, your ability to like work hard. Like, having the ability to work hard physically does give you a great ability to work hard mentally as well. Anyway, I think we'll wrap things up there because we're running out of time.
Buddy,
do a little summary, wrap things up for us.
Yeah, thank you everyone for coming. Very excited for the following weeks. We're gonna get some more episodes out, potentially even get some people on. Boys on. Discuss some interesting topics. If anyone wants or has any topics they want us to discuss, feel free to ping them over. And obviously we'll happily give our thoughts and whatnot. And also, if you do want to come on as well, also ping us a message, either me or Jack, and we'll see what we can do then. But yeah, thank you everyone for listening. And yeah, it's been Camille and Jack.
Yeah. Our Instagrams are Camille_Archer Academy, Jack_Archer Academy. If you want coaching or you want help, if you're a coach and you want help with being a better coach, hit either one of us up. This is available on YouTube and Spotify. What else is there? If you want clothing, BuiltNotBorn.Store. You can use
boy.
You can use Camille 10 or Archer 10. Either one is good. Yeah, thanks everyone for watching. Any wise words for the fucking final sentence of the pod, mate?
Don't train like a bitch.